Dr. Jazz.
But man, good that we found the time. Sorry about the last time. Last time, it's just
I have an order too for for I
then you
know.
know, yeah. But I want to start with the new album. I mean, I hope that's the last one. I listened to it yesterday, 559.
Yes, that's
Uh, it's a beautiful record. I mean, I knew your On Canvas project, and this is like a complete upgrade, and
Mhm.
lots of music you've written. And what's the story behind the new record?
Yeah, it actually started with a on canvas project, which uh, started like in 2001,
Already? Okay.
punctually to the no, not 2000, sorry, 221. That's the
Oh yeah,
right.
yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Actually, we did like 3 gigs and then wanted to record at the loft,
Yeah.
and then the pandemic started, and we did actually the first streaming concert at the loft.
Oh really?
With
Oh,
that thing, and it was with one camera, super basic, and that is what is on the record. So we did the streaming thing, and next day we did the same program without any audience, not even a streaming audience. And the idea behind this quintet is like I wanted to have people from different places in jazz within this band and see how they communicate, like on a
mm,
swinging rhythm section.
yeah.
And so I asked Angelica for that.
Yeah, I love that. I love the connection.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
and it's also connected with this vinyl thing. When I think about the late 50s, early 60s records, like I don't know, Blues and Abstract Truths,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
where you have like Dolphy, like the super avant-garde player of the day back then, and then like a bebop player like Oliver Nelson on one
Yeah,
record, and
exactly.
they communicate together. And I wanted to have that kind of vibe on the record. And the basis for that thing is like I thought about using what is called contrafacts these days,
Yep.
writing new melodies on well-known, more or less well-known changes. So we have a starting point together. And then the pandemic happened, and in Germany we had after the beginning they established a thing like that musicians could work at home on a certain project, composing whatever. You can think
Mm.
about a project and get a certain amount of money for that. And I was thinking about continuing this contrafact idea. And I was thinking that this time I will not use standard changes that I already know. And I thought about using one known record as a reference,
Okay.
not musically, but from the book they use on the record. I was thinking about, for example, of Ella and Lewis,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
or I was thinking about Coltrane meets Johnny Hartman, this program. But then I remembered that Niels Wogram, trombone player,
Yeah.
he has his band Route 70, and they did many records with their original music, but they did one standard record called Wise Man Can't Be Wrong. And I took their book from that
Oh,
record
really? Oh, wow.
as a
That's quite
starting point,
cool. Okay.
which was kind of interesting because most of the tunes on the record are not in my personal real book at all.
Interesting.
So I had to learn these tunes first, and it was really in the beginning of the pandemic. So I was more or less alone on the bass, a bit on the piano. So it would be more fun to have like played in duet with someone. But
Sure.
anyway, so and already when I learned this tune, I got some ideas for for contrafacts. And
Which tunes were they?
oh,
Like some of them, I mean.
it was from Moon River
Oh, okay.
to so many. Also, God.
It's okay. Now you're more stuck with your tunes, I guess. So it's gonna, yeah.
You know, actually, that's part of the thing. When you write these contrafacts, in a way, they are not really related anymore to the original.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what happens. Chelsea Bridge was one, for
Okay.
example, and also the one. There's one of the mid-60s Miles record from the second quintet, where they have one tune with a singer, like an ad track, which actually
Oh,
Miles
shit. Okay.
didn't like, and for example, this one I had to transcribe because there's no lead sheet of it. It was some kind of like some work with it in the beginning. And during the process of writing the music, there were certain tunes I could imagine for this existing quintet, but there were also like tunes that I thought that maybe not fit. And I thought about maybe I should build a second quintet. And some of the tunes evolved during the process, like for a larger ensemble. And I thought I have one quintet, which exists, a new one, and then they combine them to a no-net. And it was also that I already took like decisions who should play in the new quintet. For example, I didn't want to have two piano players on the no-net. And I thought about a guitar player.
Oh, one of my favorite guitarists ever. What's your story with Mike Walker, by the way? I mean, he's like one of the most underrated guitarists. Like, it's so good, man.
We were really happy. We had this project called Trialinguo, which we had for 15 years. And it was a trio with Christoph Hillmann on drums and Johannes Lemke on saxophone. And it was like a really corporate band. It was like a collective. And we always invited guests. We had like Zoltan Lantos on violin, or we had Dominique Pifarelli on violin.
My friend,
And in the beginning, we always thought we always want to have linear instruments as guests, not harmony players. But then we got into a funding situation where there was the idea that we organize some concerts in Germany and some concerts somewhere else. And somehow the name Mike Walker popped up. And we did like 2 test gigs in Cologne area in 2016, I guess. And already recorded them on video. And then we did like 2 tour legs in Great Britain and 2 tour legs in Germany with him. And it was really, from the moment he walked in the room, it was like family with him. Musically, but also like he's the super nicest guy you could imagine. And he's actually, when you play in Great Britain with him, he's like a well-known treasure everywhere. Everyone knows him, and it was really nice to see. And unfortunately, this band, we wanted to continue with this band, but the saxophone player got some serious health issues. He cannot play any longer.
Oh shit!
And during the process of who should play the guitar, I thought about different people, and I thought, man, it would be great to have Mike again, which is a bit of some financially, and to bring someone over from with 2 seats in the plane, with one for Mike and one for Mr. Musical Instrument.
Oh yeah, of course, shit, yeah.
It's but it was possible, and the interesting thing is with this quintet, which I didn't realize in myself, is that that Mike was part of this Trialinguo thing, and Christoph, the drummer, is also part of this thing. So it was kind of the final trilingual rhythm section works again together. It was nice. And I really asked the Johannes, the saxophone player, if it's okay for him, because it felt after I saw it, maybe
that's nice. Yeah.
And he said it's great. And Mike even slept at his place when we recorded. It was in a way it came out okay. So
connected, yeah.
And we had we did maybe during this tours, we did 25 gigs or something altogether. Yeah. And somehow we could start from that point that we already played together. I feel that on the record. The other quintet is a bit more it's not really a working band. Who has a working band these days?
Oh man, yeah. I hear you. Yeah.
But we work every now and then. It's continuing. But and then we had the new two Christine Corvisier on saxophone and Mike Carl on trumpet as well. They were completely. I never played with them. They were just
new additions.
Recommended, but it happened to be a good combination. And it was super intense recording days. For every part of the record, one day, 5 tunes on one day. And especially the no-net stuff was crazy day, and it came, I was lucky I did not get Corona during the days, but original 2 weeks before I got Corona. So I was
tired, yeah.
Mike was already in Germany, where I had still the negative test.
Yeah, the test, yeah. Oh, shit.
And they did the first rehearsal without me. Wow. So, but during the night before the first real rehearsal, it was, now I'm clean. It was really intense week. Yeah, and I thought, in a way, I had a moment. Now I think maybe differently again, but I thought now I have these 3 things together, and I did it really it's a triple CD.
Yeah, wow.
And it's a double vinyl. And actually, it cost way too much. But the money for the musicians and also for the studio was financed through this stipendium.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So I thought maybe it's the last thing I do on CD. So you don't know what we do with the CD in the future.
Oh man, yeah, it's.
But nowadays I already think differently. Somehow it still continues, I feel.
Yeah.
In very small. But I thought if it's the last one, then it's a triple CD. That's a statement. So, and it got very good reviews. And I'm planning to do I want to do some concert next year with the other quintet, with a new Mike Walker quintet.
Oh, fantastic, man. Beautiful.
And in February, and also 2 or 3 things with a no-net, which is most difficult to get organized.
That's heavy, yeah. Beautiful.
It was a good thing.
Yeah.
Actually, the whole thing started with I was really composing. When I started with music as a teenager, actually before we already had a band in school together with people, and no one had an instrument, but we already started writing our own music. It was terrible, but it was our own.
Yeah.
I could never imagine in the beginning to cover something, to play from. It's always the idea of
interesting.
Composing was really in my. I always say playing the bass is my chance to be on stage with these people, but the composing is really important for me. I didn't call it composing in the beginning, of course. It was creating something, and it became more and more important. And then I really got into writing different kind of jazz material for from early 90s to 2013. And then I stopped writing instrumental music for a while because I got back into writing songs with lyrics and everything for some years.
Oh.
And but in 2018, I think I was. It came like a storm. I wrote the whole material for the Canvas album like in 12 days.
Yeah.
One tune, and that was really a great experience to stop it for a while, and then start all over again, and it felt super fresh.
Yeah.
And maybe it felt more fresh than it was, but what I created, it always had the aspects of things that I did before, but it felt like completely new. And since then, I'm back in this process. I already have because this 559 is a new record, but I actually have like 10 new pieces.
Oh, okay.
I'm quite, like Philip van Nendza told you in the interview, I'm a steady writer.
Well, that's good, man. That's fantastic. It's a nice process, I think.
But I don't do the thing he mentioned in the video that I take some like 2 weeks off. I don't do that often anymore. It was during the pandemic that was possible, but actually these days I like this process of having all the different things we have to do at the same time. I read an interesting essay from Sam Newsom.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
About practicing when you are a professional musician. And that's really interesting because we all were this idea we have to practice like 10 hours or 8 or whatever you choose. And he said, yeah, I'm glad I sometimes practice like 15 minutes and I do something else. Then again, 10 minutes and I do long tones. And I really could identify with that. And I like really these days, like you start with some practicing, then maybe you compose a bit, then you do, then prepare some lessons, then you cook. And I really like this balancing of the things.
It's life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's good.
I used to, when I was younger, it was always like, I should do only my own music and not teach. Or 3 weeks later, it was, I should only teach. It was only one. And I like this different
balance.
This job is so diverse. I really accept that. And sometimes there are times that one thing is too much, then you have to balance again. Yeah? Maybe sometimes you teach too much or too less. So that's and composing is like almost always part of the game for me.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it's fantastic to find the time. How did you mentioned you started playing music in a band. Like, how did you enter the jazz world? We mentioned Miles before, or you mentioned Oliver Nelson. Like, why did you start playing jazz bass specifically? Because now in Germany, I know Cologne and Berlin, and the scene is amazing. Like tons of young musicians and musicians from the States and everywhere. Well, in the mid '80s, I guess it was still a bit like not so active. But how did you enter the jazz world? Did you hear a record specific one, or?
No, actually, I wanted, in the beginning, it was like, when we started, it was inspired by the punk movement, new wave movement. And I come from a family background, which is, it's not really working class, but coming from a working class background. My parents were super interested in education, also for themselves. That they continued to, and there was much reading in our house. My parents were into books, they were into visual arts, and there was always some kind of music. But my mother was more into 60s stuff, and also very much into black music, soul music. Which is a way the connection to jazz for me. And my father was also in that area, but also in what we in Germany call Liedermacher, singer, writer, often with political lyrics and things like that. And this whole new wave movement was like, I was like 14, and this whole thing was like, everyone can do everything. It was not, you don't have to start piano at 5 and then get the cello at 11 and give concerts with your family on Christmas. Everyone is singing. That was not my background. And the moment I had I had a really good bass teacher in the beginning from my from my gymnasium, from my high school. He did not read notes, he did not know anything actually, but he was a super player, and he showed me all the right things right in the beginning. And the moment I plugged this E string, I knew I want to do it as a profession. I felt that immediately. But back then, we're talking like 1982, when I was 14, the first Western Germany university, or Hochschule it's called, was Cologne, and they started like in 81, 82. So it was in the 80s, all these things started, but in my little village, Hilden, close to Düsseldorf, it was not known.
Andre? I think I lost you.
No, you were frozen for a second.
Yeah, we're unfrozen.
So I was thinking about like becoming like a record engineer. Back then, you had to play a classical instrument when you want to study that. I started then playing classical double bass with 16, which I partly enjoyed and partly not. And we had like in my gymnasium, we had a really good music scene in our small village. Many things were happening. It was not particularly jazz, it was everything from jazz rock to reggae to blues. And we had a new teacher in my music school. He came in our school. Actually, I met him like 2 weeks ago. He's 80 already now, and he was really an important figure. He's called Karl-Heinz Daniel, and he founded like a big band in our school. Jazz big band. We didn't know what jazz is at all. And also, we also did like a festival every 2 years in our school, like 2 days, so we could play with our own stuff there. We had this big band, and it was really like a small, vibrant scene. And somehow we became better in the pops on our instrument, and people were telling us, "Oh, you're kind of jazz musicians," which we weren't. We were simply a bit better playing. But then we heard like I was lucky in the early 80s, was pop music wise, it was really a bass inspired period.
Absolutely.
I think I was like a level 42 maniac in the beginning, nothing else, or Pino Palladino with Paul Young and stuff like that. And when you were at interviews with these guys, they always were talking about McLaughlin, Mahavishnu, Miles. So you heard the names, and then you started listening to Weather Report. Fusion was my,
of course, way
into the jazz thing. I remember then buying Tutu from Miles because I was into slapping in the beginning, and Marcus Miller was slapping on that record, and I had a connection to that music, and also I was always then interested. Who is this Miles? What he did do? What kind of stuff? But it was, in a way, it was a long way, but I really liked it. It was really more or less self-taught in the beginning. I started taking lessons again when I become like 18 or something, started going to workshops. I remember Philip Infanenda told you in the interview, we do this we do this workshop in Remscheid, Akademie Remscheid, every year with Philip and with Angelika is also on board and other people. And I was in this place, Remscheid. That was my very first jazz workshop in 1987, and I was in a band which Jasper van Toff was leading.
Oh.
And he was really cool. I was really, actually, jazz-wise, I was a total beginner. I knew nothing. I didn't even know if I knew any scale or anything, but I could play, I could function, I could groove and things, and I could learn. I remember we did a Charlie Mariano tune, Yagabia, like the unisono stuff, and somehow I handled that. But then one guitar player in the band said, "Hey man, I'd like to play like anthropology." And Jasper said, "No, that's not possible. The bass player is not a jazz musician."
Ah, wow. Okay.
And I'm really a guy who's into one-liners when it comes to teaching. Because in my small village, everyone was telling me I was a jazz musician, but something else is there. And I started getting into this jazz basics, like learning to walk. In the beginning, I thought walking is super boring because it's only quarter notes. Today, I love it because
Sure, yeah. It's a
and next year I came back to the workshop and I had some more stuff together I could. And then another teacher said, "Yeah, it's great." And then he asked me, "You never solo, right?" And then I said, "Oh, right. I don't solo that much." So after this course, I founded a trio with a piano player and I soloed on every tune. The band hated it, but that was really a good thing. So that was long story long. More or less, so then we like Christoph Hillman, the drummer from my record. He is from the same. He's like close to 5 years older than me, but he's from the same village.
Really? Oh, wow.
He is the first one. He checked out that you could actually study something called jazz, and he was the first one to move. He went to Arnhem, to Netherlands, to study there, and then the younger ones in town, started. Okay, there's this possibility, and then we started to prepare over some years, and I finally ended up in Cologne on the
okay.
which was really a good place in the early 90s because many now well-known people from the German scene were there, and for me it was intimidating in a way, of course, coming from a small place, but it was also like totally inspiring.
Yep.
I never had this, so I was never a jealous guy. Jealous? I don't know. No, I always thought, oh, there's this great bass player. I never thought I hate him because he's so great. Always, what is he doing? So I learned from him. So that was, I was also coming from my background, like felt like totally privileged to study there. I mean, not every day was the most beautiful, but finally it was great. For example, I heard your interview with Jürgen Friedrich.
Yeah.
He was in my generation.
Ah, okay.
And I remember that Jürgen, for example, he started his quartet back then, with his own music. And all of a sudden we heard, oh, Jürgen is now in the loft in Cologne and he's recording with Kenny Wheeler. And it was like, that is possible? Great, that's possible for one of our guys. So it was inspiring.
Of course, yeah.
And it's, by the way, it's a great record. I still like it.
Yeah, it's a really good record.
And so many, all these super active people were on the school, and I really enjoyed most of the time there. Not every part of the curriculum, but
Sure,
the whole vibe. And yeah, And then I started my own projects back in school, like, which finally, the more I got into writing, I founded like a septet,
Oh,
which I did my first 2 records still in the 90s on. So that was the next step, also composing wise. And I was really lucky. Maybe it's not possible these days because all the people have less time, I feel, even the younger
yeah.
people. So we had like, I felt we had like at least 1 or 2 rehearsals every week, never a gig in the beginning. And I could I learned so much how to write.
Yes, you could work on the music, yeah.
How phrasing signs. In the beginning, I did not phrasing signs at all. I said, let me hear when you play the quarter note on the 4, when you play it shorter. Okay, interesting. So now these days I do everything.
Sure.
When I come into the rehearsal, I have my stuff together. But we had to. I was lucky that the guys did not bother helping me with that. It was really, and some really guys I still play with were already in that band, and it was the beginning when it became more
serious. Yeah. You mentioned Kenny before. I mean, I asked Philip also about that, Kenny Wheeler. What was your experience like playing with him? I mean, I know you had a trio with Philip, and I mean, Philip told me a little bit already about it, but still, I want to hear your perspective as well.
It was, for me, it was a dream come true. I was totally clear that it's that it's a guest appearance of him, and we wanted to treat him like an elder statesman with most possible respect, and he was already like in the early 70s back then. So. And we did this recording. And my main goal was that he does not think, what a crap on bass. So I was trying to do a decent job behind him. But I had one, and that continued in a way on the tour. I wanted to service him. But I remember one special moment, which really it was a super small moment that maybe just I experienced. But I remember playing, and I played some kind of motive behind him. And like 10 seconds later, I heard it, Kenny Wheeler playing that. And that was like, that's it for me. So that's my moment. I made my hero play something he didn't play before. And it was a bit of a drag. So, did you read the book about Kenny already?
Not yet. No, not yet.
Really a super interesting book. In a way,
I mean, I'm a huge fan. I have all of his records. I'm like, he's.
But it's really. I found out some things I didn't know about him, and during that time he decided, for several reasons, to also health reasons and things like that, to mainly focus on his own music. And he stopped, more or less stopped doing this guest appearing stuff. Actually, he was interested in continuing to working with us. He told us he really felt well with us. That's what he told us. But he had a bit of a heavy manager back then, so it was not actually it was not possible. So So we had some gigs and this record, and Philip now did maybe he told you he did like he was not super happy with the sound.
Yeah.
He now made it more flugelhorn like. The engineer back then had like a trumpet vibe on the record.
Yeah.
Actually, that record was really a good record for me because they mixed the bass actually way too loud. But many people noticed my playing on that record. Yeah. So that's why.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, that's how I found about you guys, because I was obviously searching for Kenny's records, and I kind of wanted to hear all the stuff he did as a sideman. So then, I found about you and Philip, and then I checked out the label you guys had together, Jazz Sick Records, and which did a lot of production actually. I think I mean I already told Philip I think it's quite an important label. It was, at least. I don't know if it's still working, but like from mid 2000s on, lots of great stuff.
Continue doing it. It's getting some things are getting absurd these days when you see how many.
Oh, the industry, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
but it's like it's also it's good for us to have this basis, and maybe, for example, Axel Fischbacher, the guitar player, he started doing only vinyl the last two, so he does no streaming at all.
Really? Oh wow.
He's
Okay.
concentrating on vinyl, and it works for him. So there are different small options. And I was, with the new record, I was actually quite lucky what I sold. It's super bad, but it's compared to other things. It's
Sure, I know.
but it's okay. And yeah, but working with these, for example, I had Dave Liebman on two of my records.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about you. What was your Liebman connection? How did you meet Dave?
He was at least once, no, two times. He was in a workshop situation in the Musikhochschule, and I was a fan. And I learned one really important lesson. Like, it's always these one-liner situations that I mentioned. They played a version of Autumn Leaves, which is Autumn Leaves. At least one of the 2.5 standards I know. And they played it, but they played it the Liebman way, like wow, and Dobbins and Adam Nussbaum was it, and Dieter Ilg was
Okay.
together. And Liebman played like his super busy stuff, and for a millisecond he stopped, like wah, wah, so something like that. And when you would hear that on a record, no one would notice it.
Yeah.
It was like a short moment, and I was super glad that one of my colleagues asked, "Hey Liebman, what happened there? What happened there?" And he said, "Hey man," Liebman was, "I was lost." And it was so important during this, like Liebman played with Miles, played with Elvin, played with fucking everybody, was lost on Autumn Leaves.
Autumn Leaves, yeah.
And showed us a solution, like listen, continue. Yeah, of course he needed like 1 millisecond to readjust, and you maybe need in the beginning you need like half a chorus to find that.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was really a good moment for me, and I always thought it would be great to work with him. And then I contacted him. I had to send him my music so that he got some idea. And the first record we did with this band Atronic was actually we overdubbed him. So I flew to the States.
Oh wow.
And it worked out okay. It would been so in that situation. Maybe it was even good in the beginning as a young musician. He's like a real
Yeah.
that we didn't do it live, and it was the first time in New York for me anyway. Actually, I was not into jazz in New York at all. I was just like a tourist, which is also great.
Oh,
and then we went out. He lived back then. He lived like in this Pennsylvania Dutch area, and he had a studio where he recorded many things, which was in the woods somewhere. And my wife was with me. We went by bus outside, and then I came. It was super warm, and when I was there, Liebman was sitting there with naked and with no shirt on, and it was great. He did it like a super professional. He said to me in the beginning, man, I do 2 takes. You can use both. So he knew that whatever he plays, it will be him.
Yep.
He didn't know before, and he was also a super reader. So he read it, the stuff, and then played it. And then we went into a kind of German diner, which was also great. And he told me that Pat Messini was super lucky because it felt like Missouri for so it was really nice. And then we went back. And some years later, we managed to invite him for the second Atronic album. And then we recorded live,
Okay.
which showed me really his work ethic was beyond everything. Like he managed, it was, I guess, during winter time, and there was a huge winter storm in New York, and he managed to go out there somehow. He landed in Frankfurt, flew from Frankfurt to Düsseldorf. I picked him up. During the time we did a sound check, he gave a lesson to a friend. Then he recorded with us, like for 7 hours. We were all wasted, and he said, "Hey, come, let's have dinner." He was like super fresh.
Yeah, he's really hyped. Yeah, always. Yeah.
Was a really intense guy, and that was nice. We were a bit older. It was like 5 years later, so we were more confident. It was a good recording. Actually, it was for the second. On the second Atronic thing, it's like I did a double record because the songwriting thing started to evolve in my writing. And after the Liebman session with the 4 tunes, I started more and more songs. And I felt that these Liebman songs would not fit into the song concept. So I did one Atronic, 1 CD with the songs, and the 4 other tunes are with Liebman.
Yeah.
It would be totally strange to call it a bonus track, a record with Liebman on. So it was 2 statements on 1 record. And what was really interesting for me, where I learned a lot about composing, or not about composing, but how much freedom you give to your musicians.
Yeah.
I have the tendency to be a bit of a control freak, and I'm really managed to work against this during the last decades. And with the Liebman session, he got the notes, he perfectly read it, but he started interpreting this music right from the start. So I heard my melody, but played by Liebman, and he changed rhythm, did everything, and he played like the melody like a 16-bar melody, and in the repeat there was a second part for the flugelhorn player. And during playing, I thought, now it's becoming interesting. When Liebman continues to play this way, my friend Stefan Meinberg, the flute, what does he do? And he started doing kind of the same. They used my material with all respect and made it their own. And I really
make it alive.
Yeah. And I really thought afterwards, okay, would I be that thrilled if one of my dear friends would do the same? Or was I thrilled because Liebman? And from that moment, I thought I give every one of my great colleagues, no matter how famous he is, in a way, I give them poetic license. Of course, not if you have like a unison thing.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah.
That's about the moments where they can interpret, I let it flow. And that was also one of the things experienced from that record with Liebman. Yeah, and in a way, I'm glad that I met some of these elder statements, also some already dead, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Also with Charlie Mariano, we had great. He was in town in Cologne. He lived in Cologne for many years, so he was part of the scene, but also many great concerts with him and recording.
Oh,
And but I have to say, I thought about that during the last years. This was really important for me to play with these people, but I think when I started getting into this jazz world, I went to concert with like German musicians from the scene, and I was happy to work with many of them on also as a steady member of their
yeah, as a
band.
continuous thing. Yeah.
And that is, for example, when I was in the 80s, I don't know if you know him, there's a guy called Christoph Spendel. You heard about him?
No.
Piano player. He was a super famous piano player in the 70s, 80s, like the young, new guy. And then he went to the States in the 90s and came back end of the 90s. And during the 80s, I went to workshops, went to concerts, and in the end of the 90s, he asked me to be in his trio. And I was a member in his trio for like 7 years. So it was, has the same worth for me as was playing with Liebman.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Or playing with Axel Fischbacher in several. When I was like 18, I went to Axel's concerts, yeah, and that he's now like a friend, and still inspiring, and yeah. So now these days I like these things with Mike Walker, who is like it. Really, he's a super musician, but he's also like he's not just a guest appearance.
Yeah.
Really, it feels more involved when he's in a way. I like both. From time to time, like with Philip, we did a concert with Philip Catherine. It was a great experience. Everything has this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, both are nice. Both are important. Yeah. Andre, what still, you mentioned you have 10 new tunes already written. Like, what's on the schedule for you for this year, for the upcoming weeks and months? I mean, gigging-wise, touring-wise, or record-wise?
I play quite a few concerts with Inga Lüning. She's a singer.
No? Okay.
She's, we did a duet, like in 2016, we started a duet together.
Oh, super. I'll check it out.
Two records. And like last year, she published a record with her own material with a quartet quintet. There's Kai Brückner from Berlin is on guitar from time to time. Great guitar player. And Thomas Rückert, the brother of Jochen, piano, and her husband, Markus Möller, is a super drummer. He's a super groovy drummer who really plays super soft. It's perfect for her voice. And we have some concerts with her. Then we are doing the next record with Philip, with Cartouche. I guess we will record in autumn.
Oh, fantastic.
And what's ahead? Some concert with my stuff. With this, usually I do concert with this canvas thing. It's a bit difficult to get these musicians together. So
yeah, of course, yeah.
There are everywhere in the world.
yeah, true. I know. Yeah.
I have actually I have some really good subs for them already. That's also, and it really works with this concept. Actually, almost without the rehearsal. Things on a sound check, and that's a good new experience for me to be with the stuff I used to write and maybe write again. It was always connected with rehearsals. But I want them to get in at least one rehearsal for these 10 new tunes.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we
Fantastic.
see that is actually what I want to do is I want to, like I told you, I wanted to do a live recording with an audience for the first on canvas, which did not really happen because of the pandemic. And
Yeah.
actually, I want to do the next record as a live recording.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Do that. Maybe record like for 2 days in the loft with audience and see what happens. And that's also part of the my working against my control freak. So that these days I enjoy certain kind of mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Not every mistake. A wrong note in a melody is a wrong
Okay.
note.
Yeah.
But certain things I like about. I'm not.
Unpredictable. That's good sometimes.
What I really like to do, what we do, what happens more and more is like Axel Fischbacher does a thing in Hilden, actually the city I come from, and he used to do like up to 20 concerts a year on Mondays, where he invites like 3 musicians, and you meet at 5, and you play possible own material or some standards. And like 2.5 years or something ago, he asked me and 2 other guys, because he didn't want to do all these 20 things. So I have 4 dates a year. I can invite people. And I really enjoy that, because
Yeah.
my dates, we always play, I want all people who write to bring their original music. I always say they have to be practical, readable, easy,
Yeah, of course.
because we only do like read through the head. We never practice the form for the improvisation. That's all on stage. And there are people coming for this thing, and it's a little like a real club. That's kind of fun, and these kind of situations I really enjoy. And I like that some of my music that I've wrote works for the situation.
Yeah.
But I didn't have these kind of tunes, or that many of these kind of tunes, like in the 90s or early 2000s. I didn't have these kind of tunes. They were all too complicated for me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Now I have like a small book of possible tunes.
That's good. Yeah.
And I really like that. That's ahead. Next week I do one concert, which is kind of interesting. Saarbrücken, or no, Saarlouis. It's there's like a band where we did during the pandemic. We did like a tribute to Michael Brecker, tribute to John Scofield, and it felt I was really glad. They're super musicians. It was fun. In a way, I felt a bit. Oh, is it a cover band now? It was a bit. No, but it was fun, and it was okay. And now they want us back, and some other famous American names popped up, and I said, no, let's do a tribute to German jazz masters.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah.
They said, okay, great idea, but you do the work. So I had to do the work. I did some research, and we really start from 50s guys to 60s to 70s and some of early 80s. Unfortunately, almost all of these guys are male. We only have one. We have one tune by Jutta Hipp, famous German piano player, lady from the 50s. But that's a sign of the former times.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, I'm looking forward to that. It's from Klaus Doldinger to Wolfgang Dauner to even Paul Kuhn. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So from the first generation of German jazz after the Second World War. And I'm really looking forward how this.
Beautiful. That's a nice project.
Yeah, it will be maybe a one.
Yeah, but still.
Time thing, but
Yeah, nice one.
at least I have some material for workshops I do with students.
Yeah, that always helps. Absolutely, absolutely. Cool, man.
Yeah.
Oh! I need to stretch my legs now. But now I was nice hearing you talk. If you make, hopefully you make it one day to Austria or Slovenia. It would be nice
Yeah.
to hang and meet and play. And
Maybe you can come to this place in Hilden one day. We can do something there.
yeah,
I have to be in Germany. It's really ultra low budget, but if you have something else here,
yeah. And usually we're on the road with the band, and it's hard to.
Maybe you stop on Sunday
Monday.
and can pay for the Monday.
Exactly, like that. Yeah.
I liked your. I heard some of your music too, and I really liked the video with Arild.
Oh yeah. I love
Moses.
Arild.
Yeah.
I mean,
I loved it. It was your tune, I guess, where he played the melody, right?
yeah, probably. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we did many of those. Yeah.
Of this bass melody.
Yeah. Well, if you have Ariel on bass, you have to give him melodies to play. I mean, he's the master, you know. So yeah.
You know these records? One is called Sagen.
Yeah, sure.
It's a singer.
Sure.
I have two of these. I was really a fan in the 90s of this record.
Yeah. I mean, he played like in late 60s already, you know, with Sonny Rollins and with Jon Christensen in trio and the guys like that. It's like amazing history in those guys. But yeah, super. Cool, man.
Good.
Andre, I'll leave you a nice afternoon in Germany.
Dr. Jazz.